What's good, YouTube, and welcome to the house. We're live streaming. YouTube has won the war in a dominant fashion, and they want a live video done. And what we landed on is, you know what? Konami does a lot of rarity bumps to where cards end up very expensive that should have been cheap from the OCG. But once in a while, they do get it right. So throughout history, we wanted to go over 30 insane commons that started out common from core sets, not from structured X or side sets or were planted in. So 6 cents is an honorable mention here to give an example of, well, this was common, but somewhere else locked behind a $30 MSRP product and then banned very quickly. Very insane common, but does not go on our list of commons from core sets. So starting out, not necessarily all in order, Smashing Ground starts out this conversation as the first ever expensive common. I remember people back in the day complaining at locals having to pay $8 for a Smashing Ground to win. We'll pay 40 to 50 on Breaker, but Smashing Ground, yeah, I'm gonna complain that I have to destroy monsters this way. This card, destroy one monster with the highest defense on the opponent's side of the field, found its way into a couple of metagames throughout history and starts off our list. It would have been insane as a super rare, and you can look at the super rare prices from Champion Pack. Also, Rivalry of the Warlords from Magician's Force Chaos starts off our little floodgate segment here of insane cards that later find their ways into meta alongside Gozen Match. Its brother out of Crossroads of Chaos starting as a common as well. You have Summon No Limit out of Light of Destruction, finds its ways into metagames way later, but much more consistently. And then Macro Cosmos, still at 1 on the ban list today. We just can't have that stopping the graveyard, that resource over here in the US, it feels like. You do have Dimensional Fissure joining that. I would say Macro is the better card, taking care of all cards versus Fissure only doing monsters. But yeah, we're out of order a little, starting with the Floodgates, and then we go from best to worst with a couple of mix-ins. Chaos Sorcerer was insane for its time, but it did pale in comparison, of course, to Chaos Emperor Dragon and Blackluster Soldier, so this card ends up much lower on the list, I would say even behind a lot of the Floodgates, but it does have its formats. Then you have Parallel Exceed most recently out of Eternity Code. This card is bonkers. Everybody thought this was getting bumped to Secret Rare. It would be $30 minimum. The Cyverse players were going to cry, and then Konami did a little something right. They made this card a common, and everybody celebrated for it. And yo, thanks for the donut.
Don't forget the famous salad mold.
Okay, Solomon Great Mold does not make this list. Easy mode off. Artifact Lancia, not from OTS. Actually, Artifact Lancia, I believe, is from Duelist Alliance. Artifact Lancia. We'll see if I can tipsy type here a little bit. Should be out of Duelist Alliance if my memory serves, but has had many hollow reprints through time. It started out common from Duelist Alliance, turned out very good throughout metagames as a hand trap artifact, and has impressed itself on many metas. Reasoning out of Pharaonic Guardian, and Pharaonic Guardian has some bangers later in the list. This is my card. I would not have won my Shonen Jump Championship all these years ago before some of you were born if I did not have access to this. My list actually made it to where it was less than a 1/4 chance that you would call the numbers right and get the cards out, but later in Infernoids, being able to mill and put cards in the grave with the greatest of ease and other Monster Mash decks, this card's insane, along with its brother Monster Gate coming out of Ancient Sanctuary, which requires a tribute of a card versus a guest level, but then gives you the guarantee of getting to summon that monster for the most part. Monkey Board, the 1-card scale. Joker would join this if it wasn't out of a structure deck originally. Monkey Board is insane and remains on the ban list today, although I think it could peel off the ban list. You have Dogmatica Punishment out of Rise of the Duelist. This card, really awesome for what it does. It shows that a Regeki break with no cost still could be in a format today where Dino Miscus, other Paleozoic cards that probably should have made this list now that I'm thinking about it, and Karma Cut, Wing Blast. Throughout history, you typically have to discard for this kind of power. Instead, you just don't get summoned from the extra deck for a little bit. Metamorphosis is crazy. Can you imagine this card in a meta today? It needs hollow reprints for GOAT format, yet is so powerful Konami doesn't touch it, do anything with it, and it's... Dude, imagine just summoning out Last Warrior from another planet and cheating it out so easy on an end field. Upstart Goblin has so much potential to thin decks and basically make you play 37 cards with that good old Hoban logic, and it remains at 1 on the list today. Even though it gives your opponent 1,000 life points, you'd rather play 37 cards, and in Yu-Gi-Oh! You know how powerful drawing is, especially with spell counters now. Rescue Cat cannot be understated. This common out of Flaming Eternity, it is a market price of 14 right now because it's come back through metagame after metagame, most recently with a Burning Abyss deck into the national spotlight, and then it's just so cool. Now, this buyout was more memes for Melfi recently, but Rescue Cat, it's had an errata, and it still finds its way into metagames. That's crazy. Manju of the 10,000 Hands as a searcher found its way in the Necros format. That was really good for rituals in general. Just above even the rare searcher of its Senju of 1,000 Hands. This card has unlimited price. Still $6 today. It's just so freaking good. There's a blank page smile. Ran Manju Dai Iza took multiple events / second places, and it's so good. Being big off of banishing and just being able to go through all shenanigans they can set up. Negate here. Well, I'm gonna banish for cost. I'm gonna get thick. I'm gonna get big. I'm gonna just run you over. That does not fail as a strategy even today, and it took a while, but it got there. Called by the Grave out of Flame to Destruction, instant hit. This was like a $6 common for a while. You got hollow upgrade after hollow upgrade, reprint after reprint. It finds itself on the FNL list today, and it's still just a crazy good card. Dino Wrestler Pankratops out of Soul Fusion. Everybody thought this was ultra secret. Everybody thought this was going to be bumped up. Luckily, it wasn't. Later finds itself on the FNL list at 1. Soon to be, hopefully, collector rare. I can't... It's so crazy. The ability to be able to play versus back row decks like Altergeist and pressure them and then still take something out when you're going. Everybody was maining or siding 3 of these, and it honestly deserves its place on the FNL list. But man, it reminds me a lot of the next card, Instant Fusion, which is used to bring out Thousand Eye Restrict, force a card, and then go into something else. The ability to also reborn because it's properly fusion summoned, because it's special summon treated as a fusion summon off of those cards, was a crazy aspect of Instant Fusion as well. It is sad to see it go in the fashion that it has, and has been reimagined, but only for normal monsters soon coming up, where you don't get that crazy advantage anymore. Terraforming, it's as powerful as the field spells it gets, and the field spells only became more powerful through time. The ability to have searchers that lock down back row and Trickstar Reincarnation, or Search Alistair normal summon effect. Terraforming got better and better and better, and with that, it made it more powerful to where it finally needed to be checked and balanced thanks to a little card called Mystic freaking Mind. Wavering Eyes was crazy for its time. It was an expensive common that was able to blow away multiple Pendulum Scales in the format where Pendulum Summoning became dominant, Pepe format. You did see this card just create total blowouts, and it was teched against Cleese up to a point where you were also teching like Fairy Wind or other niche things, but this card was so absurd when you pulled it off for 4. Man, that did not feel freaking good. Trap Dust Shoot, ripping cards out of the opponent's hands, information before they ever get to play, and letting you know how to play your back row. This needs to stay on the ban list. People argue for this to come off today. I can't believe it, dude. Imagine siding this in and getting that advantage when people also have trouble with a Pointer of the Red Lotus these days. Level Eater originally being a freaking common. When Kaijus got printed and you saw that Kaiju Link deck start up for 1 week into OTSs and then Level Eater got banned, whew, we dodged a bullet. But for synchro summoning, for link summoning, for all intents and purposes, this card has always been a bit degenerate, and those synchro loop decks probably wouldn't be the same without it. This card, freaking absurd. Vanity's Emptiness started out of a common, out of not the most accessible set. Star Strike Blast got to $30 to $40 at one point, locking your opponent out of special summoning. Only one rare has done that, Royal Oppression, and it's scary seeing this Vanity's Fiend and Trap form across from you and having to force it. Necros format was probably the height of this card's activity, but it also was very present during Dragon Ruler format. Cold Wave during Rescue Cat format, boy, being able to lock back rows, pop off, destroy everything, really took this to the next level. Cold Wave is absurd, and it's from one of the OG sets. You see old cards age kind of poorly like milk because of how powerful they are, so you need that brokenness early in a card game to make it interesting, but it actually didn't really take shape until later in its life and then got banned. Fairy Tale Snow is more for modern history. Grass Looks Greener made this card really freaking broken. But even without that, being able to send it in combo with Beatrice, being able to chain to itself and not be once per turn is just so crazy. It's a chum blocker that flips things down, that forces multiple negations, that can even dodge DD Crow on its own. All these applications are just kind of the perfect storm to why it's so far up here on the list. Crazy common that I'm surprised they didn't rarity bump. And finally, Magical Scientist, one of the reasons for the first ever limitless / ban list, the craziest card that created FTKs out the freaking gate with Catapult Turtle, Last Will. This dude is insane, can never come back. I like to see his picture on the new Instant Fusion, but boy, this really shows how absurd Yu-Gi-Oh! Was at one point. So let me know what you guys think. Any core set cards that we missed, if you're in open chat or chat, let me know. Like I said, the Paleozoics are already on my mind. There's so many commons in Yu-Gi-Oh! That Konami actually did a good job of not murdering, and then later giving us upgrades in like OTS packs and stuff. Any thoughts? Nope. Okay, awkward silence at the end. Well, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Join these streams live if you're not. What are you doing? Every Friday, Sunday, and most Wednesdays at 7 Central. Join the live streams and like this video if you enjoyed the discussion live. You gotta give Konami a little props where props are due. There's some insane commons that they did leave behind for us to scrounge around a bit. But yeah, it doesn't excuse all the rarity upgrades by any point to where they use them to sell sets the way they do.